Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about homeschooling with a newborn. And I have my baby here. He's in his pajamas because he's supposed to be sleeping, but here we are. So I had this baby, this is Gideon, and he was born at the end of December, kind of around the middle of the school year. Now he's my fourth baby. However, he's my first baby to have had while homeschooling. So my other three were born when I was not in homeschooling yet because they were still too young to be homeschooled. So approaching that, I was kind of wondering how would it go? We were getting into a nice rhythm with our homeschooling, into a nice routine. And so I wondered how much would things be thrown off with introducing a new baby and what would that look like? So here are 5 tips that have helped me and I found helpful. So my first tip is instead of taking naps during the day, I prefer to just go to bed earlier. Okay, so my husband was able to stay home like the first 2 weeks and that was a huge help to adjust in that early postpartum time. However, eventually things had to go back to normal, and with having 4 children, I still had to make food for them. I still had to watch them and take care of them. So I just found it easier to, instead of naps, to just go to bed earlier. So that those first several weeks, I would just go to bed around the same time as the children would go to bed. I try to be in bed by 8. The other thing I found helpful is I like to divide, I look at the things I want to do during the day and I try to divide them in my mind between sitting tasks and standing tasks. So some things that I had to do, like putting away dishes after lunch or after breakfast, that had to be done. I couldn't do that while sitting in a chair or on the couch, right? That had to be done standing. So I tried to do those things while he was napping. And then when he wasn't napping and I would be busy holding him or nursing him, and when they're newborns, I find my babies take a long time to nurse. When they're newborns, they'll nurse like 30 minutes, 40 minutes at a time. So there's a lot of sitting on the couch and nursing the baby. Right now, he's really efficient at nursing. He nurses for like 5 or 10 minutes at a time. It's a lot quicker. But when they're newborns, there's a lot of holding the baby on the couch and nursing the baby. So during those sitting times is when I would try to do school. We would just sit on the couch and I'd nurse the baby and we would do our school, or I would sit on the chair beside my son and be nursing the baby, holding the baby and helping him with his schoolwork. We'd sit on the couch and we'd read stories together. So whatever could be done, pretty much homeschooling, could be done while nursing the baby. I still had to nurse him anyways, so I might as well get school done during that time. The other thing that helps, so this is number 3, is of course smaller expectations. So I try to have easier meals, of course, and I had smaller expectations with house cleaning. I had a goal of doing like a small 15 or 20-minute task of house cleaning a day. So that would be clean 1 bathroom or sweep a few rooms of the house, like not all of them, just like a 15-20 minute sweeping or something like that. Do like 15 minutes of dusting, something that just takes 15 or 20 minutes, because it was more of a reasonable expectation. And I knew like the house doesn't have to look perfect, but I still like to keep it somewhat I didn't want it to get too dirty, of course. So I put down on my calendar, on my schedule, just a little 15-20 minute job task. And if it was like a really hard day and I felt like I can't even do that little task, then I gave myself like the grace that like it's okay if it doesn't get done. It's okay if it doesn't get done for a few days. It's okay if the floor doesn't get swept for over a week or things like that. Like that's okay. We're at that season in life with a newborn where there's other things that are more of a priority, and that's okay. And the 4th one goes kind of along with that, is that enlist help. So I found my husband to be quite helpful during that time, and my husband actually works part-time from home, so the times when he would be home, he'd be helping us a lot during the mealtime. And I also found that, you know, my oldest son was starting to be more helpful too. Like he was 6 going on 7, and he'd be able to start, you know, clearing off the table, putting things away after meals. And another wonderful thing is I found that I could even have him, once the baby could hold his head up, he could even hold the baby for a few minutes on the couch if I really needed to set the baby down to like go to the bathroom or do something quick like that. He's very responsible, and he was able to hold the baby even for a little bit, which was really nice. I also lowered some of our expectations with school. So I would try to just do 2 core subjects. So just do like something with language arts, some math. Math was easy because math, we're doing Math UC. So I find that to be a very independent kind of curriculum. Malachi is able to do most of it by himself. He just sits at his desk for 15 minutes and does the math for that day. And we watch the videos, learn the new lessons. So we do like 15 minutes of math, a reading lesson, which is longer, and I would be usually nursing him or holding him during that time. And then 1 other subject, either science or social studies or Bible or art. And that seemed to help as well. It was a more manageable goal to attain to. The 5th one is, and this is something that I do even when I don't have a newborn, and that is doubling my suppers. So whenever I make a meal, most of the time I make a double amount of what my family would eat for supper. And then we usually have the leftovers of that the next day. So that way I'm only making supper every other day. I did try to make some freezer meals too when I was pregnant with him. Each time I'm pregnant, I always try to make, usually in the 2nd trimester when I have the most energy, I try to make some meals ahead of time to freeze. With this one, I didn't make as many meals, and then instead kind of had the mindset that, you know, when the baby's born, there's going to be those frozen meals for those days where it's like supper is not happening, I can't make supper, so we take something out of the freezer. But instead, for most of the time, I also plan to make simple and easy suppers, like crock pot recipes, things that you can mix together with a few ingredients on the stove. Easy things like putting, you know, chicken thighs in the oven, making some rice with it, and a easy simple salad, like things like that. So that seemed to help with that. And so those are my 5 tips for introducing a baby into the homeschool year. And it was kind of hard at the beginning. I did find the transition to 4 children to be somewhat challenging. I have a lot of friends who have a lot of children, and I've heard them say that they found going from 2 to 3 to be the hardest. So after hearing that, I thought that I already had went through the hardest part when I had my 3rd one, and I thought having 4th baby would be kind of easy. And I was actually kind of surprised that it was kind of hard to adjust to having a 4th one. So it was hard, but those were 5 things that helped. And eventually it got better as his stretches of sleep got longer and his nursing got more efficient, and we were able to gradually go into more of a routine again. So those are my 5 tips, and thanks for watching, and comment below if you have any other tips that you found helpful.